Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Microphone no working for me this morning, so I'm going to go slowly and enunciate. Is that going to help the people in the back? Okay. I'm going to miss it. Okay. Freedom is messy. Freedom is messy, said Archbishop Tutu of South Africa when speaking to the press about the struggles of the Anglican churches around the globe to deal with same-sex relationships. He was referring to the excruciatingly slow way Anglican churches come to some sort of understanding on contentious issues like abortion, same-sex unions, immigration, and racism. To some, these are no-brainers. Well, of course, this is the way it is. And others, in deep conviction, don't share that. Tutu went on. He said, dictatorship, or authoritarianism, by contrast, is simple and efficient. The boss, the head, the big cheese, the top, tells you what's up. And either you do it or you suffer the consequences. In freedom, however, the decisions come about by these wobbly things called discussion, dissension, persuasion, prayer, and the passage of time. In freedom, emotions are allowed. Thinking is allowed. Opinions are allowed. Messy stuff, all those things. Messy, messy, messy. The Archbishop is right. Freedom means living with a certain amount of unclarity, of insecurity, and of messiness. No surprise to anyone here that there's messiness in the Christian life in the spirit, too. We want to let the Democratic candidates raise our hands if we think there's messiness in the church. This messiness results from the freedom that Christ has given us. The freedom that God bestows on us as creatures of God. Freedom to choose good, to choose life, to choose for the good of others, but freedom also not to choose these two. We are free to choose to thwart, constrict, and subdue others. This messiness of false choice is recited by Paul in his letter to the Galatians this morning. It's the laundry list of human misery, pain, and domination from the beginning. And I always love reciting these in public. Fornication, not using all our bodily desires as God intended, ending up in dissipation and weakness and not wholeness. Impurity, leading with our worst rather than our best foot. Licentiousness, nobody can tell me what to do. Idolatry, making created things, including our perceived needs and appetites. We make all these gods sources of ultimate concern in our life. Idolatry. Sorcery, manipulating things and people for our gain. Enmities. Hey, those Democrats. Hey, those Republicans. They're such so-and-sos. Strife. Contending against one another that grinds one down and down and down and down. Jealousy. Wanting what another has and wanting it now. Anger, upset that the universe does not revolve around me. Quarrels, Pride meets pride like rams butting heads. Dissension, refusing to compromise ever. Factions, those people over there are destroying us. Can't you see it? We know it. Can't you see it? Envy, not being at rest with what one has. Drunkenness, a spiritual condition of looking for love in all the wrong places. As psychologist Carl Jung said about drunkenness, it's looking for spirit, capital S, in spirits, little s. And carousing, an unbridled, uncentered, destructive spirit abroad in our soul and in the world. And then Paul goes on, and other things like these. Wow, what could he have meant? And then Paul goes and contrasts all that with this simplicity of the messiness of life of God and community in the church. A life where one's right to do what one darn well pleases is subsumed under the law of love. That is, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This list is a really interesting list. The other one is boring, because this list gives life. It's that famous fruits of the Spirit, again from this letter to the Galatians. And let me recount these two. Love is participation in God's unconditional love, God's delight for the whole world, the whole creation, for everything. Love. Joy, an abiding sense of well-being based on the experience of a conscious relationship with God. Joy. Peace. Peace is the pervasive sense of contentment that comes from being rooted in God while being more and more aware that one is not the center of the universe. Patience, certitude in God's unwavering fidelity to God's promises. Kindness is freedom from the energy of hostility, hatred, or outbursts of anger. Generosity is the affirmation of creation as good, as all good, together with a sense of oneness with the universe and with every created thing. Generosity. Faithfulness is a daily offering of ourselves and all our actions to God, showing compassion for one another, especially in service of others' concrete needs. Faithfulness. Gentleness is a participation in God's way of doing things that is at once gentle and firm and fierce, sustaining all creation with its enormous diversity, yet all without effort. Gentleness. And finally, self-control. Wow. Is self-control an American virtue anymore? I'm not sure anymore. Anyway, this is ancient Greek. So, self-control. It's not the domination of our will over our emotions. Too much work. But it is a response, the spontaneous fruit of growing in our relationship to God. So self-control is more like, rather than. So, dear friends in Canterbury, take home the 4 F's this morning, cleverly made up by me. Because freedom in faith is messy, we need to focus on the fruits. Okay. 35 years of this, incredible. Okay. Because freedom in faith is messy, we need to focus on the fruits. Because freedom in faith is messy, we need to focus on the fruits. Because freedom in faith is messy, we need to focus on the fruits.